What's going on, guys, and welcome back to part 5 of the ultimate fan guide to Brockhampton. Thank you guys so much for the awesome support that I got on the video all about Romeo. If you guys missed it, I'll make sure to include a little annotation somewhere on the screen for you guys to check it out. But honestly, guys, I'm ready to jump straight into it. This video is going to be all about Russell Boring, aka Joba, aka the chiropractor. But to sort of give you guys a little bit about his background and where he came from, Russell Boring, aka Joba, was born on August 5th, 1993. Joba is known as a vocalist, sound engineer, and honestly a jack of all trades for Brockhampton. So even though Brockhampton is full of larger-than-life personalities, ultimately Joba brings a certain skill set and attention to detail that really sets him apart from the rest of the group. He is actually the only classically trained musician in Brockhampton, and he honestly acts like a musical surgeon when it comes to producing Brockhampton's music and also adding actual musical structure to what they are trying to achieve in their songs. Ultimately, there are a lot of traits that really make Joba impossible to overlook from the rest of Brockhampton. To go into Joba's backstory a little bit, he was born in Houston, Texas, where he spent the majority of his childhood. And Joba's nickname, Joba, allegedly came from an alias in a secret language that he and his brother invented when they were much younger. As a teenager, Russell went to high school at the Woodlands High School in a suburb on the northern side of the greater Houston area, which, who's been taking notes again? That's right, Kevin Abstract, Merlin Wood, and a lot of other members of Brockhampton also went there, so essentially that's where they all really met each other. But at the time, Joba was a year ahead of everybody, making him the oldest in the group. So after graduation, Joba went on to work at Number 6 Productions, which is a production studio in Houston, and there he would actually reconnect with Kevin Abstract, Amir, and Matt Champion as they worked on their early music. Essentially, Joba went from supporting the guys professionally to working with them side by side by mixing, mastering, and producing for other members. So, when did Joba really put his foot in the door with Brockhampton? Well, as they started building their chemistry, Kevin Abstract actually invited him to officially join Brockhampton in 2015. Joba accepted, and honestly, he came in on the second wave of additions that came along with Matt Champion, Bareface, Merlin, Romeo, and Q3 at the time. So once the crew got together and they decided that they wanted to be the band we know and love today, they all moved into a house together in San Marcos, Texas, while Joba was studying vocal performance in a school nearby. In a short little testimony that Joba gave in an interview, he recalls that, "I remember I was in school and Kevin mentioned we need to move to LA. Let's move to LA in a year. And I had like 3 more years left of school. I was like, well, I guess I'm moving to LA. And kind of put school on the back burner." And again, it's only because he has this conviction about him. And at that point, everyone had a certain conviction that followed that. And now we live by it. Joba's role in the group is super important. And I would describe him as bringing this sort of like eccentricity, musicianship, and ambition to Brockhampton. Hands down, one of his greatest attributes has to be his creativity. So along with Kevin Abstract, Joba is responsible for like a lot of Brockhampton's most off-the-wall sounds. And he also brings an aspect of reliability and emotional substance to the group that can sometimes seem larger than life. When you read through a lot of Brockhampton's old interviews, you will notice that Joba isn't shy about what he wants out of life and the struggles that he's gone through in the past to make him the person that he is today. He can come off as very vulnerable and nostalgic and other times very manic and enraged, but ultimately when you listen to his music, you start to see that Joba is just someone that is very in touch with his emotions, and he isn't afraid to share that. And to be honest with you, I would say that Joba has a very good formula going for him that involves a lot of emotional intelligence and just like musical knowledge. So thanks to Joba and Don McLennan, Brockhampton receives a lot of praise for just the ability to open themselves up, being vulnerable, and shedding a light on mental illness through their music. Joba in particular has used both his music and social media as an outlet to discuss his struggles with behavioral issues like split personality disorder and bipolar disorder. But moving into Joba and Brockhampton's music, he's very much a jack of all trades. He does it all. He plays the keys, he sings, he raps, he mixes and masters a lot of their music, he produces tracks, and oh yeah, he kind of dances like everyone is watching. But it's ultimately Joba's understanding of vocal delivery and harmonies that is one of the greatest reasons that the group can't simply be written off as a rap collective. When you hear their vocal harmonies on a Brockhampton track, you're more than likely starting to hear a Joba verse. When he takes off his singing pop star hat, Joba ultimately brings a heavily emotionally charged rap verse with bars that really lodge into your head for days. But his contributions don't just stop there. Joba is really good at being the resident sound guru and an audio engineer for Brockhampton. Along with his talented ear, Joba really brings a level of professionalism and just attention to detail that I think we can all really recognize in Brockhampton's music. There are so many layers to pretty much every single Brockhampton track, so the fact that they have such a skilled audio engineer just goes to show that Brockhampton is there and honestly just the definition of perfectionism. And as the chief of mixing and mastering, nothing leaves the Brockhampton studio without Joba's stamp of approval. Joba as a producer, well, in addition to acting as an executive producer for All American Trash and co-executive producer for all 3 Saturation albums, Joba has personally produced 5 out of Brockhampton's best tracks to date, which include Palace, Flipmo, Junkie, Gummy, and Team. Another one of my favorite quotes by Joba is when he states that when we dropped Saturation, we charted, and it was pretty high. And it wasn't for very long, but it was long enough to validate what we had been trying to achieve, being independent and growing up with these people. And as it starts out as a dream and you know it sucks, but you keep working at it. And then when you see something like that, it's like, wow, this actually kind of transcended the internet in a way because we're actually reaching people. If I had to discuss whether or not Joba had the potential for a solo career, then I would say, of course. His diverse technical skill set, his vocal talent, his flexibility, all definitely give him the ability to successfully enter any genre of music, if you ask me. Based on his Twitter history, we actually know that Joba has a fully developed album that he's been sitting on for nearly 2 years. But until he releases the album, I have no idea what this thing is going to sound like, so I'm excited for the day when he finally does drop it. So let me know down in the comments, guys. Do you guys have a favorite Joba verse, Joba produced song, or anything of the sort? Is there something that I left out about Joba? Let me know down in the comments as well. Thank you guys so much for your support in this series so far. I've learned a lot just like talking about Brockhampton in general. Like I said, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video, and I'll keep you on your toes as to who I'm going to cover next. It'll be a good one.